here's a time in my past I stumbled blindly into this horrible ditch and terrible things happened to me. It's like, okay. Lots of times people have to go to therapy or talk for a long time to someone to find out where they are, because your experience might have scattered you everywhere, and you feel that that you've come apart at the seams, right? That things have fallen apart around you, that you're in chaos. You don't know where you are, and so maybe you have to bring yourself up to date. Look, let's say you're socially anxious. Okay, so what happens when you're socially anxious? You go to a party, your heart's beating. Why? The party is a monster. Why? Because it's judging you, and it's judging you, it's putting you low down the dominance hierarchy, because that's what a negative judgment is. And that interferes with your sexual success, and that means that you're being harshly evaluated by nature itself, right? So you are confronting the dragon of chaos when you go into the social situation. It helps you sort out things about your past that are still burdening you. You can tell, if you have a memory that's more than 18 months old, approximately, and when you pull that memory up to mind, if you still have an emotional reaction, that means you haven't fully articulated the memory. You might consider talking to someone. You find relief when you drink alcohol. That might be an indication that some of what you're overanalyzing isn't so much a consequence of excess cognitive power, but an excess of high negative emotion. And so that would be illustrated in, say, high trait neuroticism. We're going to release the Big 5 aspect scale here later this month, and you'll be able to take that, and it'll give you a pretty good detailed description of your personality. And there's 2 dimensions of neuroticism: withdrawal and volatility. And you can know if you need to be brought up to date. It's fairly straightforward. If you're obsessed by memories of the past, more than 18 months old, and most of those are negative, so anxiety provoking most often, then there's a lot of you that's stuck in the past. You know, but that's a logical thing to do in the face of a tyrant. So I'm no threat. You know, you look at the king and you're dead. I'm no threat. I'm hunched over. And then what's happening internally? What are people thinking about me? What are people thinking about me? Am I looking stupid? Am I looking foolish? Geez, I'm awkward. I hate being here. Man, I'm sweating too much. It's all internalized, right? It's all self-focused. The eye isn't working. What do you tell people? Don't stop thinking about yourself, because you can't. It's like, don't think of a white elephant. White elephant, white elephant, white elephant. If people wrote about uncertain things, past, present, or future, so they could be traumatic things, they could be uncertain things, that their physical health improved. And he did a lot of detailed research trying to figure out why that was, and basically came down to the explanation that it was something like an uncertainty reduction mechanism at work. Because your brain is always figuring out how well situated are you in the world. How much do you not know compared to how much have you mastered? And you can tell that you've mastered things because when you go somewhere and you act, things turn out the way you want them. That's an indication of mastery. And your brain is sort of keeping track across your whole life of how many places you've been where things haven't worked out compared to how many places you have been where they have worked out. And if all those places in your past where things haven't worked out, you need to map and master. And what that means is you didn't map the territory well enough, and the parts of your brain that are alarm systems, anxiety systems, are saying, no, there's holes in the way you're looking at the world. There's holes in the way that you're looking in the world. And you fell in them once, and you don't know where they are, and you don't know how to fill them, and you don't know how to walk around them, and so you can't forget them, you can't forget them, you can't forget them, you can't forget them. You know, if you're overanalyzing because you're ruminating, that can be a consequence of high levels of anxiety. And the reason I'm suggesting that is because you said you find relief when you drink alcohol, and alcohol is a very powerful anxiolytic agent, anti-anxiety agent. And so lots of people who have high levels of anxiety do ruminate, and so overanalyze, let's say. And they find relief when they drink because alcohol is a primary anxiolytic, like Valium, like benzodiazepines and barbiturates. You're stuck back there. Your body is still reacting as if there's an emergency that could happen again that you haven't fixed. It doesn't matter if it was your fault. That's irrelevant because the alarm system doesn't care. Like when your smoke detector goes off, it isn't relevant whether it was your fault.
You can't tell someone to stop thinking about something because they get caught in a loop. What you do with socially anxious people is you say, look at other people. Look at them, right? Why? Because if you look at them, you can tell what they're thinking. And then unless you're terribly socialized, and some people are. Some people have no social skills. And so the reason they can't go to a party is because they don't even know how to introduce themselves. Like no one ever taught them how to behave.